So good morning everybody and welcome back to Norwich and the Norfolk Broads. I've got a little video that I'm going to do today. I've already got a varnishing video which is on YouTube, which goes into the process and the way I go about things and the way I do it, which I'll put an attachment to the link, a link to that video in the description of this video. So if you want to go and have a look at that, if you haven't already seen it, go and have a look. What I'm going to do today, I've had a few questions that people have asked me since doing the video in regards to certain things. One being, have I ever used spray varnish? Now, I've never used spray varnish, but I thought while I'm doing this painting today and finishing this one off, what I'll do, I've got another one which is due to be varnished, which I'll do with the spray, which will give you a comparison and an idea of where you're at with the varnishes. I always use Liquitex. I always use Liquitex high gloss liquid form. That's what I use. I think it's it's about £19 a bottle, which is 946 millilitres. So quite expensive, but that's what I use. What I've got today is I've got a spray varnish, which is Giant Varnish 20 gloss. I got it on Amazon. I think it came out around about £9–10 for the spray. I looked at other ones yesterday, and Liquitex have got a gloss spray, high gloss, well not high gloss, but they've got a gloss spray, which I watched and I thought that actually probably would be doing better, but I've got this one today. I've ordered the Liquitex, which is going to come tomorrow. What I liked about the Liquitex is on the nozzle. This one's just a normal straight little dot of a nozzle which you can spray from. They had like a V, so it gave you a higher spray capacity, which I quite liked. So I'm going to get that tomorrow and maybe do another video at some point. So what I've done yesterday, I started them. I did this with the Liquitex and the clear, I can't get my words out now. I brushed on the liquid. So that I did 2 layers yesterday. I normally do 3 to 4, but I did 2 yesterday. And what I would normally do is I'd start it with this way. I would do up and down, up and down. I'd leave it for about 4 hours, a little bit more if you can. This was actually dry about 3, but I left it to the 4. And then turn it round and go the other way, so you get a good coverage of the actual canvas, and any bits you miss on the previous you can catch up. If you miss a bit, don't go and do it again at that time, because it causes little lumps or little imperfections in the actual varnish, which you might not get covered up in the next layer. So I advise you just leave it, get it on the next round. And then the second painting is this one here. And what I did with that is I already put 1 layer on of the varnish, the spray varnish, which you can see has sealed it, but it recommends that you do 2 thin layers, and it recommends that you leave them 12 hours apart. So that's what I've done. I've done the 1 layer. I'm going to do the second layer here while we're on the video and see what it comes out like. I think when you start painting, it's one of these processes. The painting's the fun part, the creating's great and it's lovely, and you know it gets that stage of everything's great. Then you get to the last stage. Once it's dry, what do we do with it? And a lot of the questions I get is, how do you seal it, what varnish do you use? And there's so many varnishes out there, and there's so many processes that people use to apply them. And what I'd say is, I think what you've got to realise, I think when you create your piece of art, it's your piece of art and how you see the end picture. And I think one of the things is you make a decision fairly clearly early doors on how you want that painting to be finished. And I think, you know, there's 2 processes. You can do it, that's what I'm going to do all the time, that's how I'm going to finish them. Or you can actually determine on the style of the painting that you've done what would actually look better at the end process for that individual painting. I don't do that. I always, when I first started, I was fairly keen on what I wanted to produce and what I wanted to actually have an end goal as an achievement. And I know you've seen a lot of my paintings out there. It's always difficult to actually get a picture of the end goal, but what I want to achieve is as much close to a resin effect without using resin, because I'm a bit of a chicken. I will use resin at some point when I've got more time on my hands and time to play around with it, but until that stage I want to use the Liquitex, because I have felt that with the 3 to 4 layers you get as close to that effect without actually having it, if that makes sense. I've got one here that I've finished and done. I don't know if you can see it, I've got the door open, so hopefully you'll see the shine on that, which is quite good. I'm really pleased with that, and that's what I wanted as an overall goal of what I wanted to achieve. So what I'm going to do today, I know people ask what do you use, what brushes. I always use these Harris brushes, which are normal paint brushes. They come in different sizes. I always use them. I normally do, if I've got 3 or 4 paintings in a row, I'll use the same brush, but it's quite extravagant because once they're used, I feel that, you know, that's basically it, so I end up throwing them away, which is quite expensive. And I think the way I do it, compared to some other people, probably is a little bit more expensive, but I feel for me the end goal is worth it. And I know with Liquitex a lot of people do different things, but it's fairly clear on the bottle how to use it. I know some people water it down. It says on the bottle not to water it down, but it works for them. I know people use cloths, I know they use brushes, I know they use the old sponge applicators, cloths where they give it a thin layer, and I know people do varying amounts of layers. So, you know, it's one of these things, like I always say, with the paintings, with the finish, with everything that's about your art, it's what you want to achieve and what you want to gain. And I think as you do things, you'll find things that you like, or processes that you like, or ways of doing things that you like. And I think that's what it's all about. I wouldn't get too geared up on what everybody else is doing. It's like you always say about when I create a painting, you know, that painting is there as a template for you to create. It doesn't have to be the same colours. The process is there. You can do your own style, your own process, and gain things from it. And I think that's what this style of art is all about. And I think it's the same with the finish. I think it's quite key that you decide what you want to do and how you want to have your overall effect. I wasn't quite impressed with the spray on the first layer because, you know, if you get that gloss effect there, and you know on this one it's sealed it, but you can see there's a shine on it, but not as high. And I know that's probably because this is just a normal gloss compared to this, which is a high gloss. I think that's the other thing that, you know, some people don't understand or don't look into, is there's different styles of glosses that you can use, from the matte, which is a basic gloss that will seal it and it doesn't have a shine on it, it just seals it and gives you the basic natural look, up to the high gloss, which I use. There's a gloss which is the next stage down, and then the satin is in between. So if you wanted a finish that wasn't highly, you know, shiny or glossy, but you just want to have a little bit, you know, I'd move away from the matte onto the satin, and then if you want the high gloss, move to the gloss, then to the high gloss. So that's where they sit. So it's matte, satin, gloss, high gloss, and that's how you do it. I saw a good video the other day, somebody showed an explanation of it, and he actually did it on some metal and he gave you the overall effects, but basically it's just what I said with the show. So I think it's one of these things, you have to try them. I know Liquitex come in the 3 that I've just said on this, plus this high gloss. I know these varnishes come in the matte, satin, and gloss as well. So it all comes down to, like I said, what you want to achieve, and what you want the overall goal to be. So that's me sort of stop. So I think moving forward, so as you've seen from one of my videos before, I use a brush, like I say, layers all the way up, turn it over, layers again, and then layers again. So this is my 3rd layer on this one. And what's happened with the other 2 is it's created a film across the actual canvas, which gives you that effect, so that when you're putting it on, it's not, that first effect is quite rough. There can be bubbles, there can be all sorts, but it gives you a starting base to build up on. door open today for a bit of ventilation, so you can probably hear the birds singing in the background there. It's making it a bit difficult to actually see where I'm stopping and starting, but it's just a demonstration. One of the things, there's two things I think we're doing this. As you can probably see, it does create bubbles. I know people go off with a torch and blow it and bits and pieces of a torch. I don't think you need to do that. I always find that when I go back after I've done this bit, just by blowing them gets rid of the bubbles, and because you've created a film of the actual Liquitex, it flows a bit and spreads them out, so it gets rid of them. So don't worry about that. Another thing I find with the brush is that, more so in the first couple of layers, when you have the actual liquid in the brush, when you put your first touch the brush down, it can create a puddle on the actual outside. So what I tend to do is come in a bit and then go back and drag it, if that makes any sense. So that's that. I have had people come to me and say, well, do you need to varnish the paintings? Do you need to do that? You don't need to. It's recommended that you do. The reason being there's certain things which by doing it, it gives you a finish. Trying not to get hairs. Yeah, it creates a seal which obviously protects the painting. It makes it easier to keep clean, keeps dust off, which you can then clean quite easily off after. Makes it durable, so if you're going to ship it, obviously, you know, having the varnish on top makes it durable. It brings a sheen back to the actual painting. I think if you look back at when you do your initial pours, they start off really nice and bright with a lovely effect, and then they dry and they tend to go, as I've got one here which is drying, you get that dull effect on them. which, you know, some people like. That one's got some metallics in it, so it's going to shine anyway. But then obviously, you know, by putting the varnish on, it's creating another layer, which then brings back the colour onto it and the shine onto it. So that's the reasons behind it. Like again, you know, like I said earlier, it's up to people what they do. Some people will prefer not to varnish it and just have it natural. You know, that's their decision, and it's how they want their art to look. So that's that. That's 3 layers, and it's given it a really nice effect, which is what I'm going for. So it's quite shiny, which is good. That's what we're looking for and want to achieve. So I'm just going to move this out of the way. Put this out of the way over here. And move on to the second painting. So make sure it's on the screen. Yeah. So like I say, with the spray varnish, I'm a bit annoyed that I haven't got the Liquitex, because it would have been good to have done the Liquitex with a Liquitex spray, but I can get that and I can do another one. It recommends that you give them a good shake. I saw a video the other day, it said that you should shake them for a minute. But I've already shaked this one previously too before we go and start this. As I've left it overnight, I've gone over it again with a dry paintbrush just to make sure there's no dust or anything settled on the painting, and it's set. And then what they recommend is keeping it about 12 inches from the painting and spraying for a thin layer. Now, I'm doing this inside in my garage, in my studio. I have the doors, have the windows open, and I do have a little mask here, but I wouldn't suggest doing this in an enclosed environment. Obviously it says to make sure it's well ventilated, so do make sure it's well ventilated. It can be quite nasty. I think these are, I think they've done a lot of work on these to make them a lot better in that effect, but still, if you're breathing anything in, make sure that you've got ventilation. So I was a little bit disappointed with this yesterday because I didn't get, I think I'm so used to having that initial sheen when you put your first layer of varnish down that this was a bit of a shock to me. But I think some people will probably like this, because I think it's like the people that don't want to have that overall gloss, it gives quite a nice effect. It's sealed, so you've protected your painting. It's, you know, it's got a natural look, which is quite good. I'm hoping on the second layer it's going to get a bit more of a shine, a bit more of a gloss effect, but we'll see. So like I say, I've got the door open right in front of me here, and the windows open as well, so let's go. And that's it. Now, you don't want to give it too much because it'll start to vaporize and to give you an overall effect. And you need to keep sure that it's away from the painting as much, because you don't want it to pull. Yeah, I think, you know, I think it's one of these things with a spray. It does its job, but for me, it doesn't achieve what I want to achieve. But it's like I say, you know, for beginners that, you know, aren't comfortable in picking up a paintbrush and putting some liquid varnish on, it would probably help them to start off with and get a feel. I can see there's a shine on it. I'm sure once it dries it's going to get a better feel on it, but there you go. So that's the difference on the spray compared to the actual Liquitex liquid. So I'll bring that over, and then what I'll do is I'll bring the other one over here, which is the one that I've previously done. So I'm going to bring it down and I'm going to take you along. Like I say, that's the spray and obviously Liquitex, that's the two. So you get an overall feel for it. I think again, it's like I say, it's what works for you and what you get out of it. I hope that's been a little bit helpful today. So that's the spray. You can see there is a shine on it. It's been sealed, and I think if that's the kind of effect you're looking for, I think it would be quite nice. And then obviously, as you can see, the shine on that is what I wanted to achieve. So that was a Liquitex. As you can see with the door open, you can see the shine on it, which is quite nice. Sometimes I think it's difficult because if you've got a painting on a wall which has got high gloss on it and the sun's going through the window, it can, you know, you lose the effect on the painting. But I think it depends where you're putting them on the actual wall. And that's the overall effect that I want to achieve, which is the high gloss. As you can see, it's really glossy. Just love it. But that's just me, it's personal. So I hope that's been helpful. If there's anything you want to leave in the comments or anything you want to ask, please do. I know which one I prefer, but I'm sure there's people out there. I think it's always quite good when you get somebody else to have a look at something, because Carol's my grounding. I think, yeah, that's fantastic, I'm really happy with that. And she'll come in and go, no, I preferred it before. And I think, okay, maybe not. But then it realises there's people out there that like different things. I'm going to stop babbling on. I think that's giving you a fair idea between the spray varnish and the liquid varnish and the effects that you can get. So I'm going to leave you at that. With these, like I say, I'd leave the heart with the liquid 4 hours, possibly 5, and then put another layer on if I want to. I'll make a decision later on in the day whether 3 is enough or if I want to put 4 on it. As it's looking at the minute, I'm quite happy with the 3. It's cost again, isn't it? But it depends what you want to achieve. With this, I'll let it settle for another 12 hours tomorrow and have a look at it. I know it says give it 1 or 2. Don't know, I might give it another one, see what. But you can see there is a shine on it, but it's not as much as that. I know that's high gloss compared to gloss, but I would have expected it a little bit more for my taste. So anyway, listen, I hope you're all well. I hope you're all safe and sound wherever you are in the world. I'm off to do a bit of gardening and take the dog out for a walk again later on. Sun's shining in Norwich for a change, so I'm going to make the most of it, do a bit of gardening. I hope you're all well. Take care. Until the next time, all the best. Over and out.